we did have a diker in focus, and we're going to do a dramatic entry into this afternoon's drive, but as Matt told us we were live, it moved off as it goes out here. Good afternoon from Rietspruit Game Reserve. I'm Gareth, and I'll be taking you on a 2-hour drive this afternoon. On camera I have Andrew, and as you heard I have, well, Matt's back at final control. So that diker was hiding behind that termite mound that we focused on just now, trying to get away from the wind, as it is a cold day here on the Rietspruit. And it would have been a nice way to start off drive, showing you that the diker was hiding away from the wind, but nonetheless that's how it goes when you're watching wildlife out here sometimes. It was going to be a nice introduction because like just going to pop into Mamba Dam here and have a look, see if there's anything. I doubt it on a cold day. But you never know. Oh, looks like we have a marabou stork. And a woolly neck stork. There's the marabou stork. I do apologize for here a lot of And to all of our pack members joining this afternoon, welcome. Mary, Elsa, Jennifer, Ariana, biologist in training, Brian, Liz, welcome to this afternoon's drive. Also, I hope your load shedding doesn't influence you this afternoon. Hello, misguided guide. Oh, there goes the marabou stork. And then maybe Andrew can show us the woolly neck stork, and we can tick off 2 birds this afternoon. The diker may have run away, but we can get off to watching something. Look at how that stork's tucked its neck in, trying to keep its neck warm. You might find the storks are spending a bit of time near this drying waterhole that is Mamba Dam. Any fish species that have been stranded here, easy pickings for stork species. We've seen the grey heron here on a couple of occasions, replaced by 2 storks this afternoon. So that woolly neck stork looks like it's standing next to the bush line, maybe just trying to get a little bit of shelter, breaking the wind as that diker was before it ran away and nobody got to see it. not doing much. The painted dog crew have been nestled inside today, trying to evade the wind. And Andrew drew the short straw with Matt. And he made the fatal mistake of asking Matt if he wanted to go and drive, and Matt said without hesitation no. And I don't blame him. It is a cold afternoon. 16 degrees Celsius, so it's somewhere around the 60 degrees Fahrenheit this afternoon, just to let you all know how cold it actually is. And the wind is getting up to about 24 miles an hour, or those of you watching in South Africa or elsewhere, that's 40 kilometers an hour. I think that's worse than the actual cold air temperature, is the blowing wind. And what this is indicating,
I've got two cheetah here on Kaya by the southern fence by the crossing between the southern fence line and the eastern fence line, close to Mpumalanga.
Sorry, I got distracted by the radio there. They found two cheetah, but we cannot go there. It's on Kaya somewhere, so quite far away. I'm still yet to see cheetah on the Rietspruit. I've seen a cheetah on the Blue Canyon side of the fence. The other night I was driving out by the gate, and Victoria and I actually watched it, not bringing down an impala, but in the process of killing an impala, which was pretty interesting to watch. But not a Rietspruit cheetah, so that's still on my list of things to see. I have connected with a couple of rhinos whilst out learning the roads on a couple of occasions. I think we're going to leave this woolly neck stalk, and we're going to go off and see if we can find something, maybe trying to get out of the wind. We are a bit exposed on what is the northwestern side of the dam here, which means the wind is coming straight off the dam into us. And it is chilly. So I was saying, yeah, I've encountered a couple of rhinos, which has been quite nice. Haven't seen any leopard, but I think that's to be expected. Andrew keeps giving me a hard time as to why I haven't seen them yet or found them. And he thought that these conditions today would be good ones. Oh, there's a duiker. Or maybe a bushbuck. Oh, bushbuck's gone. Is it a duiker on the road ahead of us? It is too. A male duiker, look at that. Not tucked away like the other one was. This one's standing pretty exposed. And a... Copy. There goes the duiker. There was a young bushbuck further up the road to between us and where the duiker was, but it went off into the bush here. Don't blame it. Try and stay away. I was going to do a bit of a loop. We've known where the wild dogs have been all day. I was hoping to give it some time before we got there, but we've just got reports that they're on the western fence line, not too far from camp. So maybe they're looking to get active. Cooler weather like this, it wouldn't surprise me if they were going to move around a little bit earlier. On a warm day, they would probably be stationary for a little bit longer, conserving energy. So let's go up there, back past camp, and see if we can connect with the wild dogs. I think it's been a little while since we've seen them, maybe a week. It's been exactly a week since Victoria and I did our first drive, where we had the wild dogs chasing the impala, where we found the bottom of an aardvark burrow and had to get it out, or get ourselves out. Fortunately, the little chimneys are quite lightweight, so that wasn't too difficult. Let's see if we can get up to where the wild dogs are, see what they're up to. It was the plan for this afternoon, and I was going to let you know about that. And then before the radio distracted me just now with that update on the cheetah, I was also going to tell you that this weather, I was in the process of telling you, that this weather is an indication of more weather to come. Tomorrow is said to be raining. That's what the forecast has anyway. I've learnt over the years that sometimes the forecast isn't all that correct and accurate. But I kind of believe it when the weather is the way it is today. Okay, so we're going to go up to the gate and then drive north on the fence line and see if we can find the wild dogs. They're having spent a bit of time. Oh, as we come onto that clearing, the wind almost took me away. They've been spending a bit of time in this southeastern corner of the property of late. Tracks on the roads have indicated them being here. Yesterday morning we saw those tracks again for the first time. It's been about 5 days since they were in this part of the reserve. They went on a bit of an expedition up to the northern parts of Blaubank and then into Kaya. So they've come back to where we first had them Friday last week. So Willem was the one that gave us the reports that they were here somewhere. And I know the collar pinged earlier down this fence line. There is a light there, so I wonder if that is them. It looks like a brake light. And judging by where that is and knowing where the ping was, I think it's exactly the same place, so maybe they're not getting active. I thought maybe Willem was going out of the gate and saw them along the fence here, but maybe not the case. We might have ourselves some sleeping wild dogs. There's a troop of vervet monkeys here scurrying away from us, sitting on the roof of a farm building, but let's carry on. Might get intercepted by a vehicle here. Shoot ahead of it. Some farm staff probably going to be ending up chasing those monkeys away from their accommodation there. So I can see that it is Willem that is sitting with the wild dogs on his Defender. Andrew, does this car have a name? Is it? No, not this one. His. Is it the mongoose or not? I know he likes mongooses. It's the Landy. Brent calls it the green machine. Matt's telling us from back in the warmth of the office. He sounds pretty content where he is at the moment. Alright, so they should be here. He was driving, but it looks like he stopped again, and this is exactly where the pin had the pack earlier today, about 2.5 hours ago when I last checked it. It'll be nice to catch up with them again. It has been a week since we've all seen them. Nice to see how they're doing, getting on, getting to know the reserve. There they go. There's one standing up. Going to nestle itself back into the long grass. Try and avoid this cold wind probably. Let's get up closer. But it's nice to connect with them again. See how they're doing. Sure, they are healthy. They've been making kills, which is always a good sign. One, two, three, and they're all staying together, which is nice. Sorry, boy. This seems to be their favorite resting point under this shepherd's tree. I don't blame them on a hot day when it's providing a nice covering of shade. They're all looking good. Hello, Christine. Victoria's also joined on the chat there, telling me what VM's car's name is. Hi, Sue. They've all just moved a little bit further in. Hey, Andrew.
Die druk onto Blauwbank. I'm not sure what the vehicle is.
Just a little bit put off by us getting here. Do you see exactly where they went? That I don't know if you heard, Andrew. They cut that way. It doesn't really help me too much to know exactly where they've gone. that dead tree. It's getting even more specific for me to try and narrow them down. Okay, so they've gone a little bit deeper in here. I'm going to try and get to the next road and see if there's a way in. As we know from a previous drive that I was on, it's not the easiest block of land to get through. And we have kind of learnt our lesson pretty quickly, Victoria and I, that off-roading on the Rietspruit may not be that simple. You can just look at the road, how rocky it is. It's very thick where those wild dogs have just gone. So we'll just go down a little bit and see if we can follow the next road around and see if they come through. I'm not even going to attempt going in there. It is a good time of day for them to start moving. We saw the one standing where the VM disturbed it a little bit coming down the road and then it got up to move away. Or whether that's a sign of them going to get active, we don't know just yet. But it is quite far to the next road. tell everybody that the wild dogs are here, but they've gone. Stations, there are 3 wild dogs on the western fence line of Blaubank, just north of the Hayes airstrip. They've gone east into the block. There's no longer visual. I'm going to loop around to the next road and try and see if there's any sign of them coming out. Well, I don't know. I think we're quite far here to see. Let's see, where are we going? So we'll go on to Lemondurin and then come down Mamba Kronkel. Hope I'm saying it correctly. I have been learning the roads a little bit, so I kind of know where I am. Oh, Andrew's changed. He's trying to do steady cam. Handheld. Hey? Still going well. Andrew bought 2 pairs of gloves today and he's not wearing either of them because he was worried about the cold. And I have no idea where my gloves are, so I'm glad it's not that cold yet. But maybe the sun is going to set in about an hour's time, but it's going to get dark a bit earlier this afternoon because of the thick cloud cover. And then it's likely that the temperature will go down with the sun. Okay. Gone through a bit of a bumpy section there. That's why Andrew had the camera in his hands. Here's a giraffe up ahead. Quick to look over its shoulder at us. Nice male giraffe. You can see the top of his ossicones pretty worn there. An easy sign of a male giraffe.
Also leaving the cheetah on the fence line near Mpumalanga. They are still sitting in the area playing around. Good visual.
No, Sue, we definitely don't want to call for help if we do get stuck. Apparently you're only stuck if you need help to get out. If you get yourself out, you're absolutely fine. It doesn't count as getting stuck, which is quite nice. Looks like on that giraffe is an oxpecker. I just saw a bird fly there. I'm assuming it's an oxpecker. Or are those fork-tailed drongos? It's a fork-tailed drongo flying around there. It's an association you see quite a lot. Drongos follow. Oh, there's another one coming off to the left here. Maybe even a bigger giraffe than the one we're currently watching on frame. You might see it just on the left hand side of the frame there. It's hiding away from Andrew. I can see him from where I'm seated. But you often find the fork-tailed drongos follow herbivore species as they're moving through the long grass and the bush. They disturb insects as they walk, and the drongos are pretty quick to swoop in and snatch up a quick snack, an easy one. It's easier than having to go and look for your own food. Yeah, the other giraffe should walk, there we go, straight into frame. Does look like maybe it's a slightly bigger giraffe than the first one. and he's a little bit camera shy. And some zebras are coming down the road. It's all happening. Looks like there's 6 zebra in total. 3 have gone into the thick stuff there, as you can see, and there's another 3 on the road in front of us. Such beautiful animals. Nice seeing 2 of Africa's most iconic and charismatic species in the same place. Sometimes you don't have to go far, and you can just let animals come to you. And on other days you have to drive around forever. Here's one of those days where it seems to be falling in our lap for the time being. Long may it last in this weather.
Sorry, last station, just go again. I am approaching the lock to board.
Maybe somebody can answer Sue's question. What do we call a group of zebra? Do any of our pack members know what the collective term? There we go. Mary is quick to answer. Mary, I think sometimes you must let the others have a little bit of time. They get away with the questions that we ask. But it's good to know. A herd, yes, it is a herd of zebra. It's also a dazzle of zebra, like Mary said. Mary's very quick. We might have to have some competitions on answering questions. I know Brent likes asking questions, and I think everybody's got to do a bit of reading so that they can try and beat Mary to the answers. So there goes the zebras and the giraffe into the thick stuff here. We'll keep going. It is a really nice collective noun for them, Sue, a dazzle of zebras. And it's always nice to see zebras and giraffe together, like Mary said. They're often together here, the patches and the stripes. That's really nice, as they are often so sought after by safari goers all over Africa. having guided for several years before starting this, you'd often ask guests, what do you want to see? And a lot of the time, the standard reply is the big five, or lion and leopard. Those are often sought after. The big charismatic cats. But so often, guests want to see zebras and giraffe. And giraffe is so different to everything else that we can see. Those long legs, long necks, big body, just so different to anything else in the world, really. Kind of similar to camel. But they are beautiful, and it's nice to spend some time with them if they stay in nice open areas to actually view them, not like the bush there. I personally really enjoy zebras. I think when there's big herds of them, there's not a lot better than a big herd of zebra and wildebeest moving together. You get these pictures of East Africa, the Great Migration through the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. Definitely a bucket list destination for myself. And then when you do see zebras also in the Makgadikgadi salt pans of central Botswana, actually the largest zebra, or the longest distance zebra migration is in Botswana, when they move between the Makgadikgadi salt pans and the Okavango and the Chobe floodplains. A long distance that they cover in that migration, moving into the salt pans after the rains and then back to the floodplains of the Chobe, or the waterlogged areas of the delta in the dry season when water becomes important, as well as green grass. I've missed it a couple of times and I'm itching to go and see that migration at its best. It's driven by rainfall, like so many migrations are. So you can't actually predict exactly when they're going to be moving into those areas. But the Pateti River is a really good place for zebras in the sort of beginning months of the year, after the rains. I remember growing up, we used to go to a camp called Lowveld, which is the Roar of the Lion, and that was on the banks of the Pateti River. And I think once or twice we had a lot of zebra coming through there, but I don't know, I was too young to appreciate it. Or maybe I'm getting it wrong because I was young and my memory fades. Andrew's just giggling at me at the back. Now, I don't know how much further I've got to go down this road to get, I'm right here, to get to Mamba Kronkle, to loop around to see if those wild dogs have moved around again. But I was young and going to that lodge, probably one of the first bush trips we went on as a family. I remember my mom telling me of a night that she tried to wake us up because the lions were roaring down in the Pateti River below us, and I didn't want to wake up. The first time's lions roaring. Now if you're having a conversation with me and I hear lions roaring, I want you to sit in silence so we can appreciate it, even after all these years of working in the bush. But there were zebras moving through that area. And that's kind of the youngest age I was exposed to wildlife. Some fond memories. We went there a couple of times. I can just remember the smell of the sage driving through those areas, overpowering at times. And if I go into areas with sage and you can smell it when you're driving through it, it kind of brings me back to those early childhood memories on the Pateti River at Lowveld, Makgadikgadi National Park. Right, we've come quite a way, so I'm just going to go a little bit quicker. Try and get down this road if it allows us to drive quickly. Let's see if we can get to where those wild dogs, or the direction those wild dogs were going. Tracking is almost impossible in this kind of weather. Tracks just blow away with the wind. But I have a suspicion that they were just moving a little bit off the road. 2 cars had come past them. Just trying to get a little bit of peace and quiet, keep themselves out of this wind. Just look at the mountains there, at the cloud cover covering the peaks. Just looking at that makes me even colder. Hello, Mom Ruth. Victoria's mom is joining us here, saying there should be a twitch of zebra because they're constantly twitching their ears, tails, their back when they get flies landing on them. Okay, let's keep going. Andrew, how are you doing at the back there? He's cold. Still hasn't got his gloves on, so clearly he's not that cold.
I had to take them off.
But you should see him. He's got his beanie on and his hood up.
It's hard to
He's saying it's hard to focus. I don't know if you can hear him with the wind. Hard to focus the camera if he's got his gloves on, so it's better for all of us and all of you sitting at home that he keeps his gloves off then. A reminder to everybody watching this on the public channel, maybe you asking some questions. If you do want to interact with the guides taking these drives, you've got to sign up to be a pack member. In the description below the video, you'll find the link to Patreon, and there you can find the subscription. That will give you access to the chat where you can ask us questions. So if you've got any questions and you've been asking them on the chat and I'm not getting to them, it's because I'm not seeing them. So go across, subscribe, and then you can interact with the guides from Painted Dog TV. And then while we're getting through the admin while looking for these wild dogs, some nice little clearings through there. I thought something caught my eye, but I think it's a log or a rock. This week's photograph for all of our pack members, if you haven't already downloaded it, is a photo of Andrew's called Golden Hour. And it's of one of the 2 cheetah brothers. I don't know which one, fence or lion. So it's a beautiful, I've seen some rocks there that are looking, or maybe it's some elephant dung that look like something lying down. But we go in there and I don't think something would be lying out in the open like that. I think it's some tawny coloured rocks rather than the lines. So yeah, this week's photograph is Golden Hour. Beautiful picture of Andrews, of one of the cheetah brothers. So if you want to go and send those key words, because this week we don't have a keyword, it's 2 words, to info@Painted Dog TV, you can get access to that full res image. Download it, print it, put it on your wall, or make it the wallpaper of your phone, a screensaver. And remember, the time is running out to get your hands on that picture. It's a goodie. And pack members, are you making those photos your wallpapers or screensavers? I'd be interested to know. And what kind of pictures would you like for the weeks coming up? Are you building connections? That was last week's picture of Cheeky Chops and his mom, or her mom. I'm still yet to know if it's a male or female, that baby elephant. Are you making a collection of the week's photographs? Do let us know in the comments. And let us know if there's anything that's of interest for you. I have no idea what road we've just turned onto. Let me just check the map. Okay, we're still on Mamba Kronkel. Is that right? Andrew's nodding his head. Maybe my accent isn't good enough, it just sounds wrong to me. Okay, we're kind of getting to the area opposite where the wild dogs did go east. Overcast conditions, I'm forgetting the directions here. I need a sip of my hot chocolate that Victoria made so that I would stay warm. Thank you, Victoria. Making Andrew jealous here. Victoria was even nice enough to offer coming out on this drive, and I thought that is very tempting on a cold afternoon like today. But I had to go at this first solo drive, get my nerves under check. Got some impala now. I don't know, it's quite thick through there. Let me see if I can get you a better angle, Andrew. How's that? There we go.
A lot of these two male keepers, they're all in the southeast corner of Kayonglovu. They're just lying down in the block over here.
Susan, you've got a great picture there, Andrew. And then we're looking for pictures of the dogs. That is a good one, since they've been here for 2 weeks, Liz. And Mary's saying she has printed a couple of the pictures, so that's awesome. Also using them as screensavers for her laptop. And Jennifer's trying to do some art using them as a base picture. That's pretty cool. Jennifer, when you finish those pieces, you must share them with us. Alrighty. Those looks like we got some monkey tracks here. Those impalas are not too far from where those wild dogs were last seen, or where we had those wild dogs. And in weather like this, your herbivore species are going to try and stick to cover a lot. What's going on here? I feel like I was in the wrong gear. Might still be. Got it. Still trying to work out this clutch control. If you're watching on Wednesday night, you would have seen me driving the Badger, which was quite an experience. There's another diker bounding away. And they've welded that seat in place for Brent. Now, I don't know if you've seen Brent and myself standing next to each other, but I'm a little bit shorter than him. And therefore my legs do not reach the pedals as easily. So I was really struggling a little bit before I got used to it. I ended up putting the beanbag behind me, so I got a little bit forward in the seat, and that helped a lot. But that was quite an experience. You can also smell the petrol as you're driving around. It reminded me of racing go-karts when I was growing up. But it was nice to go out on the Badger. been out a couple of times. Painted dogs, kind of what Painted Dog was made on almost. That's what Brent was telling me when I said, "Yo, this car's a bit different to the Jackal." And he said, "Don't be mean, because that's what Painted Dog TV started off with. I think just after the mongoose." Okay, some tracks. Looks like the monkeys. And also an elephant's tracks here. But they've been blown by the wind, so they're not terribly fresh. I don't know, I've probably driven over the good ones now for Andrew to focus on. I don't know, have you got anything there? No. I didn't do a good job at getting off the road. It looks like he may have come through here and onto the road. Well, no, still some tracks there. You can focus on them. So the elephants have been moving around quite a lot, and not all together. But it's not too fresh with this wind. It could be fresh, but it looks a bit older. It's not as crispy with defined edges. That's one of the main keys. But in weather like this, like I said earlier, tracking animals is not easy because of the wind blowing tracks away. You don't know how old they are. If you see something really, really fresh, you know you're right on top of that animal. But there's the elephant. I know yesterday when I was learning roads, I was around Lemonduring Krip, or Waterhole, and an elephant had been drinking there and then walked down the road, and the edge of his track was still wet where he'd been standing in the water. So we're not too far from there. We came off Lemonduring just now to come down Mamla Krunkle. And I think this is where that elephant was. I'm just going to move these branches from the road. Elephants love doing this, making us work a bit harder. And you would think if an elephant was going to try and eat something, it would eat the whole thing. But as you can see from this, all they've done is strip a little bit of the bark off here to get to the cambium layer where all the good things are. Just trying to find spots that don't have thorns on them. And then they leave the rest for us to clean up. Had a bit of good time there by the looks of it. Breaking these trees. Driving around, you can see a lot of areas where the elephants have been. Pushing trees over. There's a couple of big trees over some roads as well that might need some clearing. But as they get to know or get to spend more time on the reserve, we might see the reserve opening up a little bit. As you can, or as you know or have seen, it's really thick in here because of the absence of a mega herbivore like an elephant. One of their key roles as an ecosystem engineer is opening up environments. So in the years to come, I'm sure the Rietspruit will open up quite a bit as they push over trees. And there's another little duiker. They're all over this afternoon. That is one thing I've noticed. It's behind this weeping boerbean, running away as they do. There are a lot of duiker here. A lot. And I'm sure that's what the leopards eat the most of. We used to seeing a lot of impala in the Sabi Sands or Mala Mala, and that made a huge percentage of the diet of leopard and wild dogs. I'll be very interested to know what most of the diet of the leopards is here on the Rietspruit, and it would not surprise me if it was duiker, because everywhere you drive you see them. Not the easiest species to capture on the camera though, because they're constantly running away. That's why earlier I got excited when we found the one sitting on the termite mound trying to get away from the wind, and I could show you a nice duiker. But the one on the road wasn't too bad, so that's cool. Okay, I'm going to go back to the fence and see if those wild dogs have come back out there. And if they haven't, then we'll go and check some of the water holes. Go into the area that I've seen a rhino, but rhinos are not great to see in this kind of weather. Herbivores in general, talking about it just now with the impala there, try and avoid open areas. They tend to go into more thick areas so that they can hear better, hear if there's any predators coming, because the thickets tend to block the wind out a bit better. So we're just going behind camp here, and I know where I am, Rietspruit. I've had to learn that D in Afrikaans is actually T, the way you pronounce it. So just mind the fences here. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit quicker so we can get into that area and then carry on with drive. We're kind of doing a big loop back to where they were. Maybe they just moved away from the road because they had been disturbed by Wiem and then ourselves. So what happened is when they were first released, they kind of did a little bit of a exploration to the eastern fence line, and then they've come down to the southern fence line, and now they're spending a bit of time on the western fence line. And then the lions came down to camp. I don't know, we spoke about it the other day when they came and drank from Camp. And they spent some time at Mamba Dam and then at Sequoia Dam. And then the dogs went up to Kaya, away from the lions. And now with the lions in the north at Leadwood, the dogs have come back down here. So let's see if they've come up and down this fence. We'll go on the old Hace airstrip here. And then if we don't get any luck, we'll go along and check the different little water points and see how well my road learning's been going. I've been spending a little bit of time in that area. And a big drive for me to spend some time in that area was a leopard. The kudu krip 2-3 female was seen at Seskant Krip. There's some more impala here, so there's a lot of potential food for the wild dogs if they decide they want to get going. Didn't look like they were really well fed, so I doubt they had a kill this morning. So yeah, that kudu krip 2-3 was female, was seen at Seskant Krip and then at kudu krip on back-to-back nights. I think it was on Tuesday and then Wednesday. So on yesterday I went to learn roads in that area, and then yesterday evening, well, there's a bit of a rock there. We almost lost Andrew. You're right.
You and Victoria.
Yeah. We just got to keep the cameraman on his toes every now and again here. So it'd be really nice to see her, and that's why we're learning roads in that area, kind of getting excited. Maybe she would move around a bit and catch a glimpse of a Rietspruit leopard. So we'll go into that area, see if there's any sign. That's also where I've seen some rhinos. But first, let's check if the wild dogs have come back to the fence, and then we'll carry on. This is their shepherd's tree, and they're not back here. So I think they've just moved away. Probably not that far into there, but as you can see, it's pretty thick. And we won't attempt to go in there. It was nice to catch up with the wild dogs again, even if it was briefly. And I unfortunately don't have a photo of a wild dog yet to try and get one of my pictures onto the picture of the week. So we'll have to try again, maybe when they're in a bit of a more open area. While we go here, I'm just going to check if there's any comments. Whoa! Did you see that? Looks like the elephants have been eating a creeper of sorts, and I thought it was going to blow into my face there. Ariana's, I don't know if there's been any scat analysis to try and determine the diet of leopards on the Rietspruit. I think that's something that we'll have to ask Brent or Kevin. But it would be interesting to know what they are selecting. And it would be interesting to know what the wild dogs are selecting as well. And other than direct observations of what they're either killing or feeding off of, it's not the nicest job doing scat analysis to try and find out what the predators are feeding on. It's definitely not something to do all the time. When I was working on my master's, my office partner or lab mate, as we called them, we shared an office and had a lab which we worked in. Jess was doing research on Salati Game Reserve on carnivores, and one of the elements of her PhD was diet. There's some impalas. We'll get back into that now after taking them in. Another small herd, that's quite common from what I've seen. You don't see these big herds of impala. Maybe I just haven't been here long enough to see the big herds of impala, but often you just see these small herds, a few individuals. I'm going to go forward and see if we get a better view of them. They are moving towards a road. As soon as you think you have a gap, it just gets super thick. But let's do this. This is where we had all the zebra and giraffe just now. I don't know if that's any good. It's pretty thick in there. But you can see even the impalas are cold this afternoon, trying to keep themselves warm. The hair's all standing up. A process called piloerection. The hairs stand up, trapping a little layer of heat close to the skin. Pretty similar process to us when you get goosebumps. And it makes them look darker like this, as their hair is all standing up. Alright, as they move through there, let's carry on. Let's go check a couple of the water holes at Lemondurin Crip. I've got to think about these things. I want to just say water hole. Maybe I can. Yesterday there were black rhino tracks there, and that's something I haven't seen on the Rietspruit yet. But going back to the predator prey preference and scat analysis conversation, the process of doing it, you've got to sort of dissolve the scats. The scats collected from different carnivores in game reserves and then frozen often and taken back to a lab to do the research, and you then have to dissolve it in water, and that's the smelly part. You don't want to be in a lab with that, especially if the extractor fan isn't working. There's a giraffe in the road up ahead, and then what you do is you take the hairs out of what's left, which is just a mess. You can imagine what that might. Don't actually imagine it. It's not a pretty sight. Bringing back memories where I couldn't breathe in the lab. But then you take the hairs out, and what you can do with hairs is you put them in a pipette, and you can then put a substance in there that's going to get hard, like silicone or something like that. And you make cross sections, and then you make slides of them, and every species has a different shape to the cross section of its hair. And you can also put hairs on a slide, just long lengthways, and every hair has its own scale pattern for every species, not every hair, sorry. And using those two methods of identifying hair against known records, which often museums or universities keep, you can work out what predators are feeding on based on the cross-section shape of a hair or the scale pattern of a hair. And then you can see what your different species are feeding on and if that shifts. And it's one of the easiest ways to find out what prey species are being taken by the different predators. Easy, depending on if you like to do that kind of thing. And I don't think we'll have many takers for that kind of work. The easiest is observations, but you have such a small sample size when doing that kind of work, because it's not often that you're present when animals bring down prey species. And some of the more cryptic species, especially something like a leopard, you don't often see. There's the giraffe I was talking about, walking down Lemondurin. Sue, it's a good thing you've changed your mind. It's really not fun or pretty work. It's a lot of hard work and you've got to have a stomach for it. But the outcomes can be pretty interesting and worth the time and effort to do that. But to get a good idea of what your predators are feeding on, you need to get quite a large sample size to make your study more robust. So you're trying to collect as many scats as you possibly can. And if you're looking at a leopard population, for example, you'd want scat from as many of the individuals as possible, which in an environment like this isn't easy when you're not seeing them that often. You also want to have or be 100% sure of what the scat belongs to. And there's ways to identify scat, but it's not always that easy when they get a bit older and they dry out. This might be one of the males we saw earlier. We're not too far from where we saw that one just now. Maybe the smaller of the two. Look at that long tail blowing in the wind. How's everybody doing back home? Nice and warm, I'm sure, unlike us sitting out on the vehicle. Now the sun is setting and it's getting darker. I can feel the temperature dropping. Moving off there, and we'll continue down, try and check some of the water holes. It may not be productive, I must warn you now. Weather like this is quite tough, although I say that we've seen quite a bit this afternoon. Quite a few impala, the wild dogs of course, giraffe and zebra, duikers almost everywhere. Andrew's pushing me to try and find a leopard here. I would love to see a leopard, and I'm sure our viewers back at home would also enjoy seeing a leopard. Little firefinches and blue waxbills flying away here. Oh, we've caught up with our zebras from earlier and both the giraffe. Oh, look at that giraffe running away. A little bit too close, or maybe the zebra is running through here, gave it a little fright. They always seem to be hiding behind something.
Elephants are drinking out of this big cup at the Mundurang West now.
Alright, let's leave this little group of zebra and elephants. Elephants just came on the radio. It's zebra and giraffe, it's not an elephant, folks. It's a giraffe, definitely, but I got confused because on the radio somebody just called in the elephants or an elephant drinking from Lemmendoring Krip. Or was it the reservoir? Reservoir. Yeah, I think so. So we're quite far away. We don't want to get too close or push the giraffe around, but it'd be really nice to see the elephants. And now as we decided it's time for us to carry on, you can see the giraffe have decided to go in the same direction we want to go. Oh, zebra coming out, you'll see them running. That's nice. Four. Twitching, Ruth. When you're guiding and you're on your way to, not that this isn't a high profile sighting, but a high profile sighting like a lion or a leopard, or in this case an elephant, you often bump into zebra or giraffe. And you could have been looking for giraffe or zebra for large portions of your game drives without any luck, and then as soon as you're going towards something like a lion or a leopard and you're trying to get there because there's the chances of them disappearing, what appears out of almost seemingly nowhere, these characters I'm not complaining though. They are beautiful and it's nice to see them. Same herd of 6 that we saw earlier with the 2 giraffe. Alright, while they move into the thick stuff, let's carry on down and see if we can get, if we can figure out how to drive first. That's an important element of this job. Go and see if the ellies are there. Well, we know they're there, but see if we get them before they move off after a drink. It's not too far, but I want to try and keep Andrew on the back here. He is a vital part of our operation, and if I drive too quickly on these rocky roads, we might lose him. You didn't see where he ended up just now on the airstrip at Haste there. I'd like to respond to the elephants at Lemendurian Reservoir. That way. Okay, thank you. Okay. And just while we were talking about scat analysis for diets, you can also work out DNA from scat. There's quite a lot of work that's been done on leopard genetics based on scat, and you have to collect it really fresh and see the animal going to have a bathroom break so that you have a positive ID on the animal, and then you can work out things like paternity. Quite often in areas that leopard populations are well known because of frequent sightings and viewing, the maternal line is quite well known, but the paternal line is not. And you can use scats to try and determine that with a whole big database of leopards and their DNA. So maybe as we get to know the leopards of the Rietspruit a little bit better, that's something we can look at doing. But I think that's going to take some time while we try to get to know the individuals. I think a diet analysis would be easier because you can just pick up scat, not necessarily knowing who the individual is, and get an idea of what they're eating. But maybe something for the future. Okay, we're not too far from where these elephants are meant to be. I didn't quite hear the radio if it was one or many. So here's Lemendurian Krip. I don't know, did he say it was here? Okay, I thought somebody said it after I said I'm responding to the reservoir. Okay, so we go to the next spot. But this is where that leopard, no it's not, I lie. She was drinking at Seskant Krip and then Kudu Krip, not Lemendurian. This is where I had the tracks coming away from yesterday afternoon of the elephant after drinking there. Okay. Some nice rhino dung on the road there. That's where I saw my first rhinos at this junction, and I've heard a few people say, did you see a rhino on Seskant? Which is that road. It seems to be a popular spot for seeing rhinos. So here's the reservoir. And there's the elephants on the other side. Here we go. I'm going to stay here. It looks like a bull. So he's finished having his drink then, clearly. he's tucking into a tree that it looks like he may have just pushed over. Also saying that her temp is 105 degrees. I don't know, we're about to go into summer where it gets up to those kind of temperatures, so I think we might enjoy the cold temperature while it lasts as we sort of move out of spring and into summer. But that's very warm. Those days are going to be a lot of fun in a month or two's time. Mary's holding her answers. What is a group of giraffe? A tower is one, a journey is the other. I quite like the journey one, collective. Well done, Ruth. When did this elephant give us the slip the other day? When was I driving? On Sunday? I think so, when we went into the drainage line before we went to sit with the lions at Sikwe Dam. So he's moving quite a lot. He's kind of in the central parts of Blowbank at the moment, and we saw potentially his tracks because there's only one set of tracks on the western fence line, and he was on the eastern fence line the other day, so he's moving around quite a bit, not with the herd. Mary, you don't have to hold back on your question answering. The elephants are looking for you, Andrew also says, after that close encounter on Monday afternoon.
The stations as the elephant knock, can we approach?
Affirmative, you can make your way.
About 5 minutes ago, there was that grip on the moon. Getting in an easily direction.
The boy from next door, Mary says, it looks like the left tip of his, well, the tip of his left tusk may be broken. We are sitting at quite a distance and we're starting to lose light, but it does look like the tip of that tusk is broken.
5 minutes ago, they were on the Mundura.
Copy, we have them here. We thought there was someone on lock.
Okay, copy.
Affirmative, I'm on lock, Gareth. Different radio procedures to what I'm used to, still figuring it out. So often you'll find that elephants do break the tips of their tusks as they're stripping bark off trees. They're using them as an important tool at times to get at resources that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. wedging their tusks into bark and stripping it, getting to the cambium layer, which is what they're after, the xylem and phloem, transporting tissues of plants. And as they do that, they wear those tips down, and sometimes they break. Also, sometimes you can actually see little notches in the end of the tusk where they've been stripping branches from trees, using that as a tool. They bend a branch over the tusk and it wears down and eventually results in this deep notch that can break off. So it's not uncommon to see elephants with broken tusks from feeding. Also, big males, they'll break their tusks fighting with one another. And often you have one tusk that's slightly shorter than the other because it's been worn down or broken with that notching process that I've just described. As they do have a preference, like we're left or right-handed. Elephants are the same with their tusks. They have a preferred side, and often that preferred tusk is shorter because it's used more often. I'm just going to edge forward a little bit and see if we can get a bit closer and see what he is eating. And I think Andrew's sitting just behind. Oh, there's some rhinos here. That's nice. We've come to the right spot this afternoon, clearly. I haven't seen the rhinos yet, but the other vehicle in the road ahead of us has. And we will just park off here and watch this elephant. It's a nice clear view now. This little, looks like maybe it's a baby torchwood tree was in the way. I'm still getting to know these elephants, so I'm not going to get too close like Andrew was a couple of days ago. What's he pushed over? A marula tree. Looks like one. Marulas are really soft wood. Elephants often target marula trees or knobthorn, softwood species. Ingest quite a lot of that wood and bark. Jennifer's saying that you're the elephant whisperer. It was a great encounter the other day with the elephants.
Thank you.
Welcome, Rosemary. Yes, better late than never, and you've joined it. Great time as we were sitting with this elephant bull from next door. But I don't think we can say he's from next door anymore. It looks like he's making himself at home here. We've done a bit of a swap. We have been quite fortunate today, seeing quite a lot of animals. Seems like he's just listening a little bit. You see how he's holding that posture. He stopped what he's doing. Just standing a bit still. He's got a branch in his trunk there that he's deciding whether or not he should lift up to his mouth. There you go, he's breaking small pieces off. You can see the tusk now has definitely broken the tip off of that left tusk if you compare it to his right tusk. I'd say that's mostly from feeding. See how dirty they are from being used quite a lot. I can't quite believe that we've seen so much on a windy, cold day like today. Maybe everybody's just trying to find themselves a nice warm spot for the night. Preparation if there is any rain coming. still haven't seen the rhinos, so they might be on the other side of the elephant somewhere further down the road. I don't know if he's pushed this tree over, but it looks like it's maybe just a tree that's grown at a funny angle looking at it, and this elephant's just decided to come along and maybe break it in half. You'll notice he's eating all the small branches there, those often easier. He'll eat the whole thing. Sometimes the bigger branches there, just strip the outside layers off of it and drop the harder inner wood that they're not really going to get too much out of other than potentially fiber. But these small branches, you'll see he's just eating the whole thing. It's amazing watching them handle their food. The ability of that trunk with those little fingers on the end of the trunk. Thanks, Liz. It has been an enjoyable afternoon. As I say that, the wind starts howling past us. I turn around and I'm watching Andrew trying to keep his hands warm here. He's still not putting his gloves on. He's trying to keep his fingers at the ready so that he can focus on this elephant in this low light as it gets darker and darker here. Sue's asking, do you think he knows that you're new to the pack? I've been trying to think, does the elephant know that I'm new to the pack or somebody else? It'd be quite nice if he reaches up to get to some of these higher branches on this tree. Looks like he's angling himself too. Look at that, stretching right up. That's a pretty cool scene. Now he's just smelling this trunk. Maybe trying to get into a better position. Can't quite reach them. The branches are just out of reach. You might pick on a lower lying branch here. Me. I don't know if he knows I'm new. new to the pack. I've always wondered if animals are able to hear voices and interpret who's around them in terms of guides. Some animals respond differently when people join sightings, but I don't think there's any scientific work done into that. Look at that image, that is beautiful. The mountains in the background, nice big elephant bull walking in front of them. It's going to get better as he crosses the road. Look at that. He's actually going straight to the reservoir to have a drink, and now I'm just going to position us so that we can see that. That is a great angle. It's absolutely beautiful. Let's get ourselves out of here. Looks like they might be leaving, so we'll have the elephant to ourselves. I wonder if we can get the big mountains in the background there, Andrew. We can try. There's a couple of big branches, but that should be quite nice, that view. You can see the clouds coming over the top of the peak there. Elephant has an unfair advantage at drinking at these reservoirs compared to other species. Just lean over and use that trunk. That's why you'll see on the left there's a bit of a, it looks like a ladder coming out of the reservoir in case something does topple in there, it can find its way out. But not many animals will use this to drink. I'll have to go to the smaller low-lying waterholes or pans and dams. Get a nimble leopard maybe drinking here, using the ladder. Andrew says he's seen one drinking like that, using the ladder. Yeah, it would be interesting. Oh, it is getting windy. It'd be interesting to know if animals can sense different people's voices or scents. Maybe the way they drive a vehicle around them is different. And that's why sometimes animals respond differently as different guides drive around them, because they don't like the way they've been driven around, or it's different to what the norms are. It's a pretty difficult thing to study there. And sometimes we like to interpret things with human feelings to it. Right, now it's getting quite dark. I think it's difficult to see this elephant now in the low light. Yeah, look at how those clouds come around that mountain peak there. It's kind of the mountains disappearing with this bank of clouds that is moving in. We'll let the elephant move off. I'm interested to see if there are two rhino here. I thought I heard it on the radio. It'd be nice just to get a glimpse before it's too dark. Here's another marula tree in front of us that elephants must have pushed over and have hardly eaten anything. Alright, that's a pretty special little sighting. The elephant coming past us, feeding on the marula and then drinking from the reservoir with just enough light. Let's see if we go back up the road here. We'll leave him to wander off there into the thickets to see if we get a glimpse of where these rhinos are. I don't know if we will be able to. That is a bright light. That's way better. Everybody can see me right now. Previously I was just overexposed. I think my eyes are still adjusting to that all of a sudden light engulfing me. Okay, I don't know. So here's the tree that elephant was feeding on, just the smaller branches. Let's see. The other vehicle was parked somewhere here when she said there were some rhinos. Stations. I'm leaving the Elephant Bull to itself. It's mobile west on Levendurin towards Seskant State. I wonder if everybody on the radio will know what I'm saying. They get the gist of it, but it's a pretty different saying that, a bit different to how it normally goes as I learn the new procedure. I can't see where those rhinos are, so they might have moved off into the thick stuff with this wind. I just want to go up to Kudu Krip and see if there's any activity there. There's always the possibility of the Kudu Krip female leopard 2-3 who, or maybe I'm just biting off a bit too much this afternoon. We've seen so much that maybe I'm getting a bit, I don't know, what's the word? I know Andrew wants to see a leopard. He's just nodding his head as I'm saying this. He's like, just stop talking. I want to see a leopard. Let's find a leopard. So I think what we'll do to end off the drive this evening is go and just check Kudu Krip quickly. And then maybe go down to Leopard Dam. And just have a look. But weather like this, I don't fancy my odds at trying to find a leopard. They often move around, make kills with the wind. So down this way, look at me knowing my roads at a junction. They take advantage of animals not being able to hear properly with the wind. They can stalk their prey a bit easier. Often prey species are a little bit unsettled and moving around quite a bit unpredictably, and leopards can maybe take advantage if animals are spooked and they run in. So it's not whether that you would ideally go and look for leopards, but we'll give it a bash in the area that this female is known to frequent. And it's always a good option going to water holes at this time of day. Late afternoon is when rhinos will typically go and drink. Leopards starting to get active, lions getting active. I've just thought, how cool would a brown hyena be? That is not something I've seen a lot of in my career or life, and a brown hyena would be super special. A cooler day like tonight, maybe some of our nocturnal species will come out a little bit earlier, take advantage of the cooler weather. Nobody's here at Kudu Krip tonight, well, not that I can see anywhere. So apparently she was here drinking a couple of nights ago. So we know she's in the area, and best believe we are going to try. Okay, from here, I've now got to get my roads right to get myself to Leopard Dam. Now I've got to go Pompat and then on to what is Leopard Dam North. Leopard Dam North. That's it. I'm going straight here. Hey, Andrew. There we go. Andrew saw a porcupine on Monday. How cool is that? And that was quite a hot day, so I like our odds tonight with cooler conditions, animals coming out a little bit earlier potentially. Although I don't know what the wind would do, if it would upset a couple of them. Just rather stay in their burrows, I would. Is this right? Left. Going left is right. To get to where we want to go. Little drainage lines like this are ideal spots to get predators moving along. It is windy, and now we're driving south pretty much straight into the wind. Every now and again you get all this dust kicked up off the road. Get nice mouthfuls of dust as we drive down here. Whoa! Taking my hand off the wheel and the car wanting to go right down the drainage line. Okay, we're almost at Leopard Dam now. I think we might just sit there for a little bit if there isn't anything and find a sheltered little spot. Maybe just wait a little bit, see if something does come in this to end this drive off. There's a nightjar flying on the road or off the road ahead of us. It's got the eye shine and the torch beam. Okay, we're almost there. You can see one of the spillways here in front of us. Andrew, if there's a leopard drinking here, what are you going to do? Please don't. Okay, there's some eyes. Oh, what's that? Looks like a little diker coming down for an evening drink. I don't want to shine on it too much. You can just see that diker. Shame, getting a bit of a fright. Just take that light off of it. And there are some eyes on the other side, but maybe it's just a nightjar sitting on the bank there. They like to come and sit on spots of bare soil in the evenings from which they hunt from. Looks like there might be some Egyptian geese in the dam there. And I'll tell you one thing, it is not sheltered where we are sitting. I've just got some eyes there on the dam, and then there's an eye keep blinking on the other side, but I don't think in the middle of the beam. I don't know if you can get it there. It's probably a nightjar. I'm pretty sure it is a nightjar. If you come down a little bit, you can just see that. Yeah, so there's a nightjar sitting there on that bare soil just waiting. That nightjar, I'm pretty sure, is nice and sheltered. It's on the right side of the dam. And then the two Egyptian geese have just come out on the other side there. You'll just get a look at them. I'm not going to keep the light on them too long. Oh. I don't know if we're going to find any shelter here. I'm trying tonight to use wireless AirPods, but I'm not sure if it's working. I heard it beep in my ear just now. Any questions that I have here? Let's just check. An African sky during an electrical storm is quite something, Jennifer. If you do get the opportunity, it is special. No, that light wasn't a joke, Mary. It was quite bright. Luckily now it's under control a little bit. Andrew, what do you think we do? Get out of the wind. Might be a good start. Okay, there's nice and exposed here on the dam. Nothing else drinking. That diker darted away. Shame we interrupted it as I was trying to come for an evening drink. I think let's keep driving, see if we bump into something on the way home. it would be really special to see some. I don't even know if I'm on the road here, I don't think so. Another nightjar. So some comments about leopards and when we see them late evening or the latter parts of the drive, the tail end of the parts, we might see a tail of a leopard, and the odds are better. Sometimes you find when leopards are getting more used to vehicles and people's presence, you start to see them more in the evenings or at night. It's their time of day, or their time in the 24-hour cycle, the cover of darkness. They seem to have a little bit more confidence. Even when we used to see some shy animals in an area really good for leopard viewing, you would start to see them at night first, and then with time they would relax to your presence and kind of get used to a vehicle because it was nighttime. And they had the cover of darkness. If they wanted to get away from you, they're a lot more confident. So you might find here in the Rietspruit, animals are not so confident with people and cars just yet. And the odds of seeing them are probably higher, or most definitely actually higher at night as they're moving around. For a long time, and still they're regarded sort of as nocturnal species, active at night. In reality, I've seen a lot of leopards during the day, and even moving around on some of the hottest days in summer in the middle of the day. It was a privilege to live with leopards almost because of that fact, and it kind of goes to show that animals will change their habits depending on their environments and the circumstances. And there's some eyes in the thickets there. I mean, it's going to be difficult to get anything on camera, but it's always worth it. There's one eye there. It's probably an antelope. I don't know, Andrew. Could you just zoom out a little bit? I just want to see if I can read you in from your angle. Yeah, so go in that gap. Go straight over there, yeah, into that little gap there. It's pretty dark in there. There's something in there, but I think it might be a darker. If I were to put money on it, I would say it's a darker. Alright, let's carry on. Don't want to disturb it too much. It's found itself a nice little thicket to nestle down into and avoid this wind as best it can. Maybe we'll get you there. That's a way better view. What is it? Oh, I think it is a darker. You see it there, Andrew? No. Yeah. There we go. It is a darker. I'm going to take the light off of it. Have you seen a brown hyena on drive before, Andrew? Not live. Pilansberg. Where do they get seen on the Rietspruit? Southern fence line, okay. Off putts, going past home. Okay. It's always good to learn where you can find these things. There's a herd of impala sitting here, all grouped quite tightly. With this wind, they want to stay as tight together as a group as possible. Now we kind of driving in a westerly direction, and we have been overtaken by our dust. It is not so pleasant. Sometimes you've got to just take the dust, the wind in your face, because now you're getting covered in dust. Osteophagy. One of the things with new reserves, when you move to them, like Victoria and I have just moved to the Rietspruit, you got to learn where you can find animals. So knowing that the southern fence line as well as Hofpad is a good place for brown. You know, you might find me, and I'm sure Victoria, driving that road or that area at the end of drives to try and see a brown hyena. I haven't seen one for a long time. But as we get to know the property, it will get easier to try and find animals. Okay. Should we go on to half? Maybe. I know where I am. That's Dika, and this is Eastervark. This is going to take us down towards Hofpad, which is where Andries has told me now that we get brown hyena. But we're running out of time to find one tonight. It's nice to drive south again, not getting that dust overtaking us, but we have to contend with the wind. Right, it's been a really fun afternoon despite the weather. I was quite pleasantly surprised that we've seen as much as we have this afternoon. And ending off with that elephant is quite fun, and ending off with this wind is less fun. But I hope the viewers go and have a good weekend. You'll see us again on Sunday evening for a live drive. We are meant to get some rain tomorrow, so it could be interesting to see what happens. Until Sunday, have a good weekend, everybody.